And beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Adamawa State on Public Affairs, Sunday Wugira, for discussion on the outcome of the 2023 elections in the Northeast State. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, sir.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right. Let's start with the titanic governorship election in Adamawa State. How will you describe it?
Well, describing the election, the governorship election in Adamawa State, is just like a blind man describing an elephant. Wherever you touch, that is where you feel whatever you say about it is just because of what you touch. It is a conglomeration of so many things. It was luckily concluded, but some elements from the beginning, even before the elections, there were signs that the election was actually going to be will of the people would be subverted. You see, we have to put out the narrative as it were from the beginning. Those who are in the state, perhaps those who were following the electioneering campaign, would tell you that there was one fundamental error that every other person in Adamawa State made. The error was the governorship candidate of the APC, in a video, spoke to an audience in full day that this 2023 election, they would coerce people, even if it means stealing the mandate, to ensure that APC is declared winner of the election. A lot of people in the state took this for granted. They never believed that it was for real. They never believed that they would make serious and concerted effort to snatch or undermine or subvert the mandate of the greater majority of the people of Adamawa State. So from the beginning, nobody gave this a thought. It was just like, this is just an electioneering talk to ginger supporters. But eventually, as the events started unfolding, elections were conducted peacefully across the state. There was no issue. People were expectantly waiting for the outcome of the result. And as God will have it also, INEC, unlike the presidential election, they kept to their word and transmitted results on their IRF portal. People were watching. People from the comfort of their homes were downloading results from the IRF and making summations. Another issue also that played out before, I think during the election, the governorship candidate of the APC again stormed the PDP situation room situated on the Wugira Hills in Yola here, in company of security men. The Commissioner of Police in charge of Adamawa State was there. The brigade commander was there with some other security chiefs actually. They stormed the situation room on the allegation or complaint that votes were being printed in the situation room. Perhaps before then, nobody gave it a thought that it was part of a mischief plan or a game plan to ensure that the observation of the results, the collation from the IRF by the PDP before the actual collation by the INEC was being disrupted, so that, of course, to ensure that they achieved their aim of thwarting the will of the people. Secondly, after every other thing, there was nothing found incriminating But the police, for fear of whatever legal issue that could crop up later on, they brought a search warrant that was signed by our lawyers in the situation room. So, being that as it may, that went by. Nobody made an issue out of it. Nobody gave it a thought. People were just laughing over it, thinking that it was just a political gimmick to just undermine the order, or probably the candidate was misinformed, and she came to prove, to satisfy whatever curiosity she had and whatever complaint she received that there was massive thumb printing going on in the situation room, which was not to be. After the search, the police even apologized and they insisted that, well, it was part of their job. They hoped that we will understand. Of course, we understood, because we thought, yes, these people are doing their jobs very well. We never knew there was a sinister motive. So from the beginning, before the commencement of polls, we were dealing with a dangerously desperate candidate that was bent on ensuring that for whatever reason, no matter what, there will be no credible election. Even if there is a credible election, there will be no credible coalition. And even if there is a credible coalition, there will be no credible declaration out of the results that were collected. But for whatever reason, coalition will be made that will favor the candidate of APC, and declaration will be made so that whoever that is not satisfied should go to court. But that was not to be. Now, in Adamawa State, it must be emphasized that we are a peaceful people. Over time, we follow our leaders, we respect our leaders, but then we are resolved on what we want, what the greater majority of the people of Adamawa State want, and it usually reflects in our elections in leadership. Some people actually for a while now, they have been making effort from outside of the state to impose on Adamawa State a leader of their choice, not one that is accepted by the people, not one that is popular amongst the people, not one that people have faith and confidence in. Over time, actually, we've been trying as much as possible to break that decision and reject it in total, which what actually inspired. First and foremost, I want people to know that even the government of the Federation, under the leadership of General Muhammadu Buhari as president, have seen the dividends of democracy delivered by the governor of Adamawa State. Hence, he was even given an award in infrastructural development by an APC government and an APC president. So it was not about politics then. It is a fact and a reality that whoever that will come to Adamawa State from outside, the first thing that that person will see is the massive transformation in Adamawa State. If he was ever in Adamawa State.
With all of this explanation, what factors would you say precipitated such an electoral battle in Adamawa State?
Well, it was just a matter of desperation. Desperation to be a leader, not by the majority of lawful votes, but by the imposition and the muzzling of all institutions and people vested and shouldered with the responsibility of ensuring that the vote of people in Adamawa State counts, particularly INEC. You see, over time, people have been vilifying hoodoo. Hoodoo is just one out of so many legs. There was even a conspiracy there. In fact, it must be a conspiracy from outside of the state, driven by sheer ambition, driven by disdain for the will of the people, driven also by the desire to ensure that the will of the people does not count in any way, which is very sad, which is very reprehensible. Now, the issue that people have been weeping, Hudu alone. Hudu did not act alone. Hudu acted in concert with other people. He was being prodded by the APC candidate, who is being supported by other forces outside. But in all that Hudu did, you know, during the March 18th election, they wanted, the game plan started unfolding on March 18th, during the March 18th election. Perhaps you have heard the audio that went viral, where Hudu was discussing with the electoral officer in Fofore local government, where they wanted to subvert the will of the people and change the results. Someone walked into the collation center at the local government, took away all the results, gave it out to someone through the window in the presence of policemen, all security personnel, members of the state security service, and the army personnel and whatever, civil defense, and walked away. It was after he walked away that the security forces now remembered that they were even having guns. And they started shooting sporadically in the air. So in broad daylight, not even at night. So this went by, and the returning officer of Fofore insisted that he was not going to collect any other result until the result that is uploaded on IRF was downloaded, and then recollation is done at the registration area. Collation officers would be brought in to recollect the results downloaded from IRF, which was done. And then it was in the course of that conversation between Hudu, the resident electoral commissioner, and the electoral officer of Fofore took place, where Hudu in Hausa language said he has received a call from a high and mighty person instructing him to make sure that they help that woman. He stated that in Hausa, na samu kira daga wani mutum, babban mutum, wanda yace mu taimaki matan nan. Dan Allah ku taimaki matan nan. So that was the beginning of the drama.
All right. So, Mr. Wugira, the governor has promised to prosecute the people behind the drama if the federal government fails to do that. But the question is, how are we sure this won't be used to punish political opponents?
Well, you see, you have to have a clear picture of the narrative of what transpired. First and foremost, I want you to know that all the security agents, you see, like I was saying, the commissioner of police in Adamawa State, CP Afolabi, he acted responsibly as a policeman. The police must commend CP Afolabi, must give him an award, as we are preparing in Adamawa to give him an award. He is a perfect gentleman and an officer of the law. He knows his onions very well. He stood his ground that the right thing must be done. But all the other security chiefs in Adamawa State, the brigade commander of the army here in Adamawa State, the commandant of the Civil Defense Corps, the SDS, State Director of Security, they were all compromised from the beginning. From the beginning, it was CP Afolabi alone that stood his ground. And perhaps when they could not get what they wanted and they went for we were asked to go for a rerun, they muted and muled another plan where they excused CP Afolabi and asked CP Mohammed Barde from Imo State to come and supervise and superintend over the election, where they perfected the plan to organize and hatch a coup on the people of Adamawa State. Because what transpired on Sunday, the 16th of April, could not be described by any other name and cannot be given any other connotation other than treason. And it was aided and abetted chiefly by CP Mohammed Barde. He was the one that organized everything. And you see, if you get the brief of everything, you get to realize that they gave him protection. They came when it was not even time for the collation to resume, because collation was to resume by 11 a.m. And they came before 9 a.m., around 8 o'clock. They came with hoodoo. The security chiefs that were there present, the CP Mohammed Barde, the State Director of Security, Bulama, the Commandant of the Civil Defense Corps, Juan Bello, they were all in cahoots with hoodoo and the candidate of the APC. Because
Mr. Wugira, I would, all right, so, you know, the governor once told us that the APC does not pose any threat in the state, yet he could only win narrowly. What happened?
Well, election is when you have confidence in an election. The issue is you are not in charge of the figures. He was confident of winning because, one, he has delivered. Okay. He has restored peace across Adamawa State. Before his coming in 2019, Adamawa State was like a mini Somalia, you know, a war zone. So he, at the end of the day, ensured that peace was restored in Adamawa State when he took over. He brought back confidence in governance in people. People have confidence in government now than they had before. So assuredly, all the indices of winning an election for an incumbent is there. People of Adamawa State are more united now than they were before now. You know, he brought back unity, he unified people, he brought back development in every facet. Talk about security, talk about education, talk about agriculture, talk about infrastructural development, talk about rural development, talk about integration, talk about whatever, health, you know, a lot of
what factors
differences.
In your view,
people now are beginning to see
what factors in your
government
view
and governance
aided,
is inadequate.
What factors in your view aided the party's victory?
Hello, please come again.
What factors aided the party's victory in Adamawa State?
These are the factors that aided Fintiri's victory in Adamawa State. Like you asked before, why the margin is slim. The margin is not slim. The margin, as far as we are concerned, is wide, taking into cognizance the shenanigan that took place. Now, it is obvious that some of the votes that the APC candidate even garnered during the election or in the election, they may not be actual votes, taking into cognizance what has transpired. But you see, before all these things, the indices were there.
All right, so despite these factors, why was the election very hard for the governor to win?
It wasn't very hard for the governor to win. It was a walkover, you know, but for these interferences, our election would have been concluded even before without even the rerun, the supplementary poll, because the supplementary poll, as far as we are concerned, was of no moment. It was needless. It was a waste of resources. It was an attempt to thwart the will of the people of Adamawa State. After all said and done, all the votes that could be casted at the supplementary poll is just slightly over 15,000 votes. when someone was leading with more than 31,000. So what was the basis? It was needless. It was a waste of resources. It was a waste of time. And it was just a ploy to burn down Adamawa State, which, to the glory of God today, we have overcome that. You know, some people feel that even if it means burning down the people and the properties they intend to govern, they will just be happy to govern over ashes, which is so sad and unfortunate. But like I said, in Adamawa State, we are a sensible people. We are a peaceful people, and we have overcome that. Now it is all history. Declaration has been made. The governor of Adamawa State has been declared and returned elected. In fact, this evening, he has collected the certificate of return for the next 4 years. Life goes on.
Mr. Wugira, with all of these factors you have listed, why was the governor able to win narrowly?
Well, the issue of narrowly winning is not an issue. It is of no moment. The fundamental thing is he has won, and we are comfortable with that. The victory actually did not come easy because there were armada of forces against that victory. That victory is not for the governor of Adamawa State. That victory is for the people of Adamawa State. That victory is for democracy. That victory is for the rule of law, because we have seen clearly that we have elements whose only goal is to ensure that they win elections by all means.
All right.
All the forces were there, all the antecedents were there.
All right. So, Mr. Wugira, you know, before now,
the fact that take responsibility for what happened.
All right. So before now, Mr. Wugira, before now, you ruled out some allegations against the APC candidate. So let me also get your reactions to some of the accusations against your party. Senator Binani also alleged that Governor Fintiri colluded with some government officials to rig the election. Will you say the election was free and fair?
Well, the election was free and fair. The collation was transparent. Everything was done in the glare of everyone. And it was commendable. But for the interregnum, where some elements headed by prodded, headed by Hoodoo. Hoodoo is just being a man Friday. There are so many forces behind Hoodoo. He wouldn't have acted the way he acted if he was not confident of the fact that he will not go scot-free. And but you see, there is no perfect crime. And that was why it failed. The Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Barde, the State Director of Security, Bulama, the Commandant of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps,
Mr. Wugira, you made this point earlier, so let's quickly move on because of time. So how will you describe the support of the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku, for the party regarding the election?
Pardon, I didn't get that.
How will you describe the support of the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku, for the party regarding the election? And was it significant?
Very, very significant. Very, very significant. Because it was his support that even broke the camel's back. That is fundamental. No one will take that away from former Vice President and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the Waziri Adamawa. Nobody will take away that. He had to call a press conference. He called out INEC to do the needful before they now realized that they could not get away with what they were cooking. And at the end of the day, they had to insist that the election was not conclusive, that there must be a rerun election. So it was his own stand, his firm stand, that gave credence what the people of Adamawa State were saying and the government of Adamawa State. Eventually, even after the rerun, when Hoodoo pulled that reasonable act by unilaterally in connivance and conspiring with the security chiefs in Adamawa State, who were vested with the responsibility to protect lives and properties, that he went and announced and declared result, because that cannot even be a declaration. He went and made an announcement, that here is a winner, holding a piece of paper.
Wugira, I must say we still have a lot to discuss this night, but let's take a short break and we'll be back for more. Please stay with us.